wanted was to study hard, be inspired from educated professors, and hopefully graduate. I remember finishing class and heading to my grandmother's house just to pick up a dish she had prepared for me, with love, using her Lebanese special recipe. It's safe to say that things were just in place. A typical student life routine I was comfortable at. Until one day we decided to head to one of the resorts in Ras Al Khaimah just to spend some family quality time. I remember I was on my phone, texting my classmates, discussing the projects we had to submit the week after. All of a sudden, I was shocked, interrupted by a painful scream. Shocked as I looked up, and there it was. My uncle's car, flipped upside down on the other side of the road. And you can guess, we had a car crash. Right in that moment, I wasn't the same girl anymore. I didn't know what I wanted back then, but all I wanted was something more. It was very difficult to adapt to a new routine. Memories of the accident kept coming back to me. I lost my uncle, my grandmother, and my uncle's wife. But as they say, time heals everything. With people's support, and with the unconditional love, and me redefining what the accident meant, that my family are in a better place, I was okay. 4 years later, I graduated from university, all ready and excited for the next phase of my life, which is to get a job, a good salary, a stable income, and hopefully a good position. Sadly, that wasn't the case for me. I got rejected from 9 different organizations. Although I applied all the interview techniques they taught us in university, the do's and the don'ts, but I got the same email every time. Dear Ms. Hanan, we regret to inform you that you are not fit for this position. And so what do you think happens during a 2-year unemployment phase? Naturally, I started experiencing negative emotions. What's funny about negative emotions is that the more you experience them, the more you let them take over you, the more you tend to attract more negative emotions. And so memories of the accident kept coming back. I started missing my family, although 4 years passed. Until one day I stumbled across a photo of my uncle, who happened to graduate from med school. I remember he was very nervous about the next phase of his life, who happened to pass away in the same accident. This is the time where I thought to myself, stop playing the victim. So I asked myself, what can I do now? What do I love the most? How can I turn this unemployment phase into something more beneficial? How can I turn this phase into something more meaningful that can serve me in the long term? What do I love the most? And so the next day, I found myself calling elderly shelters, disabled centers, hospitals, with no background in volunteering. In only 2 weeks, I started working with children and elderly patients and helping them with their daily activities. I was inspired by this one 80-year-old man who was on his wheelchair. He used to roam around the hospital beds just to check up on other patients and say hi to them. I was inspired by his altruistic acts to life, his unconditional love and care for other people, although he could barely take care of himself. I remember going back home, journaling all these emotions, writing articles, sharing some advice, and posting them on my blog. I got some good feedback out of these simple articles, and so I thought to myself, why not share these videos and share these articles with people? Why not start my own YouTube channel? So with no background in media or videography, here I was in my bedroom, speaking to the camera through my laptop. What I thought was ironic was how I got a job 3 months after changing my perspective about unemployment. I don't know why and how that happened back then, but standing here today as a researcher in positive psychology, it's safe to say that unlike negative emotions that tend to narrow your mind, when you're actually experiencing positive emotions, you will create a sense of flourishing. You will become more productive. Positive emotions expand your horizon and perspective about life. So I had my job, and I had my creative side. So I started receiving very good letters from viewers, people who watched my videos, telling me that I changed something about their perspective in their career life or their personal life. Some were even seeking therapy just to start a new life. And I thought, whoa, those videos, those simple videos are giving people hope. And that feeling was something I would hold on to for as long as I lived. Sadly, I broke that promise. And I will tell you how I did that unintentionally, and how breaking that promise costed me my life, my physical and mental health. So I started reading, studying what drives our behavior. I started studying about the human brain, the positive and the negative emotions, the science of happiness, which led me to discover the field of positive psychology that focuses on what makes people flourish, what makes people thrive, what makes people happy, individuals and communities. And so I published my first book, sold more than 6,000 copies in less than 3 months. I was hosted on TV and media. I started meeting people from all around the world who shared the same science and the same expertise. And because of that sudden success and glamour, I started noticing between the difference between my corporate job, my admin marketing job, and between my creative side. This is when I decided that I wanted to quit my job. I was attached to this image of success, and anything slightly different than that image that was based on society's expectations, my family's expectations, because they were in the corporate world for years. What the billionaires who I followed used to portray, what social media portrays success like nowadays. Anything slightly different than that perfect image was terrifying for me. I still remember the facial expressions and the shock and the silence of people when I told them I'm going to quit my job. Something I was desperate about, something I wanted so bad. 98% of the people were against me. You will fail, they said. You will suffer. My favorite one was, you will become broke. We promise you. And you will come back to us. 2% were supportive, although their facial expressions said otherwise, but I did appreciate the effort. And so I had no idea what was waiting for me. All I knew is that I wanted to do it. I took a leap of faith and I quit my job. I started my own company, training and consultancy, and after 3 months of paperwork, I thought that was the hardest part. I then had to study what entrepreneurship meant, how to run and manage a business, how to hire employees, and how to still take care of my craft and myself as an educator. And let me tell you something, that wasn't easy. That wasn't fun at all. And anytime I asked for guidance, I would get the same answer back. This is your road. This is your decision. Figure it out. So I was alone. I was helpless. And I didn't want to tell them what was going on with me because later they would judge me. So I did it. I worked hard. I studied hard. I took a diploma in positive psychology, traveled to Australia, came back, shared this science, studied some more, got rejected from organizations. They didn't want to pay for speakers. So I was broke for months, but I studied some more, slept less, ate more junk food late at night. I was stressed. And I did that, published my second book. With time, organizations started calling me across the region in different countries to speak in that field, positive psychology. They flew me on business class. Can you believe that? Business class. That was the dream, right? But here I was, in the year 2017, working on a well-being course I was about to teach to the public, and feeling miserable, empty, and depressed. Although I got everything I ever dreamed about, everything I ever planned for in my vision board. I lost sense in who I was as a person. I forgot why I began this journey from the first place. It was just too much work. The more I chased success, thinking that it would lead to my happiness, the more it drifted away from me. The more I chased it, the more I lost it. And whenever I would evaluate, why was I feeling this empty? Why wasn't success enough for me? Why was I experiencing all those negative emotions? I was supposed to be happy. I got everything I ever wanted. It would always come back to the same idea, the lack of wellness, and my unbalanced mental health. I simply wasn't happy. I drifted into the work mode and the achievements, forgetting the simple basics in life, which is helping someone in the kitchen or having a work-free conversation with someone over coffee. Now, I'm not saying I regret my hustle in the past, my unbalanced hustle. It made me learn so much about myself. But if I had witnessed my life in the future, if I had known that I would lose important relationships during this never-ending, ambitious process, if I had known that I would be depressed and cry in hotel rooms just before coming on stage and speaking to people about how I become happy, if I had known that I would gain 12 kilos and not recognize myself anymore in the mirror, if I had known that I would be this lost, if I had to choose, I would choose happiness as a success factor. I would put my mental health on the top of the list. But fast forward in 2019, because of that shift in thinking, happiness became a priority. I felt lighter, more content, published my third book, not because I had to, or because of society's expectations, because I wanted to. I simply enjoyed doing it. The moment you detach yourself from the outcome, this is when you can actually save yourself from a lot of pain and suffering. The moment you are balanced and you are ambitious and you're doing something you love, regardless of the outcomes, this is when you know that you will win. And so, by integrating specific values and cultivating positive emotions into your day, you will reach that balance of wanting that success, but still taking care of your mental health. I called it the PGMSM happiness doses formula. So it starts with positivity. Remember, you are only in charge of your thoughts. Your thoughts will influence your emotions, how you feel. Your emotions will be translated into your actions, your behavior, how you act and how you talk. And your behavior will turn into your daily habits. That will eventually lead to your outcome in life. So anytime you are faced with any difficult situation in life, ask yourself 3 simple questions. How can I turn this problem into a solution? How can I turn this challenge into a life lesson? And how can I turn this problem into something more beneficial? The second happiness dose is gratitude. It takes courage to go after your dreams, to be successful. But it takes humility to be grateful for every step you take along the way. It takes humility to be grateful for every step. The third happiness dose is mindfulness. The more you are aware of your thoughts, how you analyze situations, how you link life's events, the more you are aware of your emotions, what you say to yourself, your self-talk, your movements, the voices in your head, the more you pay attention to that, the more you are mindful of that, the more you will learn about yourself. And that alone empowers you to make better, thoughtful decisions, now that you can think clearly, now that you can practice your daily habits with full attention. The fourth happiness dose is self-love. We keep searching for that one person who will accept us, accept our flaws and mistakes, and loves us unconditionally. That person has been in your life for years. All we need to do is look in the mirror and accept who we are, accept that we're still standing regardless of the struggles, regardless of the challenges we have been through. The fourth and the last happiness dose, the fifth one, is meaning. Remember, why are you here? What is your story? How do you want people to remember you? How do you want people to perceive you when someone mentions your name? Or a more thoughtful question would be, how do you want to look at yourself? What do you want to see when you look at yourself in the mirror? What do you want to say? Reading about the heroes and the history makers and the legends, and based on my experience, I have learned that living a life for meaning and purpose is doing something beyond yourself. It is by empowering others, helping people grow, and touching people's lives to become better versions of themselves. This is when we live a deep and meaningful and rich life. And so by cultivating positive emotions and integrating the PGMSM happiness doses formula into my day, it's safe to say that my life became more content, more successful, and more productive. Thank you.